You're on the podcast with Dino and Ashley. Do you guys even know why we do that? Because for one, it's really annoying, and it's from the show Community. I don't even remember their names.
Troy and Abed in the morning.
Yeah. We watched that years ago, and then we just kept doing that with everything. I think we left it as a voicemail one time, didn't we?
I don't know. Your brother and I used to screw around in the car when we were driving to work because I used to have this really long commute, and he'd get a phone call, and anytime somebody answered the phone, you're on the phone with Dino and Riley.
Oh yeah. And so then we answer the phone again, like, you're on the phone with Dino and Ashley. So when we were talking about starting the podcast, first we were going to do it with a big company. And they were like, well, you're going to need a song. You're going to need an intro. You're going to need, all this stuff. And we're like, we're kind of just like not like that.
Too professional. Yeah. Like, let's calm down with all the polish.
Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it just is not us.
No.
So this is how it was born.
Indeed.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah? You feeling all right?
Yeah. We're sitting in every time I feel like we come into the podcast room, it gets a little bit better. So we've now
this
painted
is nice. Look at this.
All of the window trim black also. So it just is, and a little bit of the door trim like there. And then added some, bamboo blinds. So it's definitely a vibe in here that we're very much enjoying.
So little honest moment. It drove me bonkers when we first got married that you were changing things all the time. Yeah. I was like, what are you wasting money for? You pick something once, or can we be done now? Like, why are we changing this all the time?
Let's be honest. I was like, who am I? Let's try a different pillow. Yeah. Maybe I'm a red pillow. Maybe I'm a yellow pillow. Maybe I'm a green pillow. I didn't know who I was, so you were right in thinking that.
Well, I don't know. You're getting at like now we're getting into something different here, but there's like intent behind it. There's aspects of and then there's like gifting, the upswelling of it.
Totally. Right? Now it's turned more into like the gifting and like harnessing the things. Yeah.
Well, you were gifted then. You were just like doing it because you were not really happy and wanted to change something up, and it made you feel you were getting a dopamine kick out of it. If we're being honest, you were just basically doing drugs.
It lasts for about 20, 25 minutes, and then I
gotta get another high, right?
Yeah, totally. I'll never forget our Las Vegas house. We lived in Dino's parents' house for a year, rented it from them. Well, 10.5 months. That's the 10.5 months of crying chapter in our book. And that house, I don't know if I said this on the podcast yet, but that house went through like a shabby chic phase, a very modern phase,
you had nothing
rustic
to do.
Phase.
I'd go to work early in the morning and come home super late, and I was like, what happened to the house? Like every time.
Surprise! Every time Target had a new line come out, like the spring line or whatever it was, I just would go and scoop up everything, spend like $100 or $200, and then just feel like, I feel better. Like,
take the old stuff, return it to Home Goods.
Yeah, I just would return it. Oh, it's terrible. Terrible. And now the thought of doing stuff like that just exhausts me so much.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. So no, good. And we are it's odd recording the podcast like a little bit early because we have to edit them. So it's hard because I like doing everything in real time. I don't like preparing for things beforehand. And I was just thinking about like, oh man, the next one going out like after this week's one is us talking about the Instagram break.
Oh yeah.
And what a weird time, because I'm about to go back online a couple days after that. So anyways,
we're talking about like what's going on in our life right now, but it won't be dropped for like a few more months.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like 3 weeks.
Yeah. But like, right now, we're about to, Ash and I are going to go get away for a minute, take a couple days and just go reset. And I actually want to talk about that, I think, before we talk about anything
We've
else.
had the Summer of Children, which has been lovely. We've done everything all summer long with the kids, and it's been really, really sweet. We've gone on vacations with them. We've just done nothing with them, which I've loved too. Just like sat around and walked to the beach and do puzzles and, fed into them a bunch. Worked with all together.
Yep. Played a bunch of video games with the boys, trying to feed into the boys and all the different things. It's crazy having a 15-year-old now. He was driving the car the other day, and it just
Gabe got his permit.
Me out. It's terrifying. It's just terrifying.
I know.
If you're an adult and you have a kid that's driving a car, the fear. You have felt this fear.
Well, Florida is really odd because you take all they have to do is take a test, and you just take a 4-hour drug and alcohol abuse test, then you take a 40 question test, and then they give you your permit. And I'm like, you just drive now on the road? No wonder there's so many bad drivers, a bunch of 15-year-olds that didn't take a class or know how to.
I checked and I'm like, hey, what do I have to do for insurance? And nothing. Not even, you don't have to get insurance. Just shove the kid in a car. This is terrifying. Like, what are we doing here?
Luckily, he's kind of practiced on the golf cart a little bit, so he knows what's up.
But the reason why I brought that up is, yes, we fed into the kids. We had to caveat that, but we're going to spend a couple days alone. And I feel like it's important just to kind of touch on it, because I feel like we get a lot of hate sometimes because you and I travel a lot. And I think that I want to advocate that people do what we do.
Yeah. I think that people should do whatever they feel like is right for them as a whole. Not everybody is...
Don't do it.
No. I'm serious though. Yeah. I'm not like trying to like,
caveat.
Yeah. But I really do feel like that. Yes, I think that it's important. I think 100% that couples should get away, whether that's going for a walk together, or like people or married couples need alone time.
A lot.
Not with your children. You need your own time. And so that doesn't mean you have to go on extravagant vacations or you have to spend money. You just need to set boundaries so that you are alone.
Yeah.
So that's shutting the door at night and saying, this is mommy and daddy's time right now, or we're going for a walk together. This is mommy and daddy's time right now. Whatever it is, having that alone time is really, really crucial to having, I think, a thriving, healthy marriage.
Yeah. Peterson says you need 90 minutes of talking per week. I think that's the number he said.
Jordan Peterson,
Jordan Peterson says 90 minutes of talking per week just to maintain like stasis, basically.
Absolutely. I mean, even yesterday, you were back at work and you were busy. I was busy with the kids. We had a lot of stuff going on. And then we didn't end up really talking until the evening when we went on a walk at the beach. And I was like, I feel like I don't even know who you are. Like, what'd you do to them? Who are you? Like, going all day without really talking was weird, because normally you're working at the Merc a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you, and we're driving. Yeah.
And but I know that's also pretty normal for most couples, is that everyone goes to work and then you don't see each other. So it's really important to have that time. What you're talking about, though, is that we do go away a lot. And, for us, that's just our thing. That's what we choose to spend our money on, to spend our time. Like, we have evaluated things over our 18 years of marriage, and that's the thing that we value most, is time, and time together. So time together as a family, time together as a couple, and experiencing life. So we're not going to definitely apologize for that. Each couple is going to do their own thing and how they want to do it. And for us, it's just the way that we connect together, and it's something we love and enjoy to do.
I like the fact that you have a moderate stance of like, hey, find whatever possibility you can. I feel like you just even challenged me. You're like, speak more definitives, and I agree. I should speak more boldly. My stance is definitively husbands and wives do not spend enough alone time together.
Yeah.
It's something that I have 3 very close friends that I'm constantly talking back and forth with. When was the last time you guys went away with your wives alone?
Yeah.
And one of my buddies is like, it's been a minute since they've gone, and just the two of them alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing?
And a lot of times people are like, oh, we just could never do that. We can't afford that. We can't. And I understand that.
Yep.
Like, we have been there. I mean, but again, going back to us and what we've done, because it was a priority, when we were younger and newly married, and literally every single penny that we made counted, I would find little extra things to do. I would, get a table. This is why I started basically my Instagram. I would find a little table on Craigslist or at a garage sale for $10. I'd paint it, fix it up, and then sell it for $100. That $100 would go into an envelope, and this would be our travel money. Like, I would just have this extra special money that would just be our travel money or our fun money. We'd go out on a date with it. We would go on a trip with it, whatever it was, whatever I could build it up to. That's how we did stuff. We could never pull from like our own finances, like whatever you were bringing in, because everything was allocated to something else. And we just made it happen. And then it made it fun. Dino was so against that at first.
It's true.
Because Dino was very like,
Well, it was $100. I could have taken it and gone and paid off a little bit more of a car or a little bit more of this.
Dino was like all about no debt and just, getting everything down. And so I think it's really easy for people to just watch something quickly from us or hear like a snippet, and everyone's going to have their own opinions and judgments. And but we've gone through it all too. We understand.
I think people make excuses. And I think that the reason why I say that is that I make excuses. Yeah. I make excuses for things that I'm like, I don't want to go do that thing because I want to go do this other thing subconsciously. Therefore, it's impossible for me to get away with my wife. It's impossible for me to go and afford to be on a vacation. I have nobody to watch my kids. I was talking with another one of my buddies who said literally these things. And I said, Friday nights, you're free. You have nothing else going on. You can cancel another event. You don't have to do all the things. You can prioritize time with your wife alone. Oh, well, we don't have any money. Okay. You don't have to have money. You don't have to go spend money. You can make a picnic at home. You can create stuff here at your own house to be able to go get food. We used to grab a laptop and go sit in a park and watch a movie in a park. Find time to go do stuff alone with your spouse. My big thing, I think it's really important to do what we're about to go do. Find alone time, dedicated days.
Yeah.
I know that's hard for some people to try and find childcare and things like that, but I feel it's very, very important because the output of it, the when you get off of it is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that if money is a thing, then to also challenge yourself with the day-to-day things that you are spending money on that are maybe like not as important that you could pull from. Think about how much you spend on a Starbucks coffee. There are $5 to $10 for a coffee every day. We're doing that. Or, I mean, not me. I only drink Foxy coffee. What else? Like there's like little things that we going through the drive-through somewhere. There's tedious things. Like really, if it is something that you want to prioritize, then kind of go maybe sit down with your spouse and run through, hey, what are some of the things that we do spend more frivolous money on that aren't really important? At the end of the week or the end of the year, am I going to look back and be like, man, I loved that I went to McDonald's every week this year. No. That was really special to me. What a memory. No, how about don't go to McDonald's for all that year and put that money into an envelope or put it into a bank account or whatever it is. And then you are now making a memory and an experience. And then not only are you making a memory and an experience, but the yield you get out of setting aside dedicated time with your spouse, sitting and just like resting with each other, like praying together, talking together. So like you're pouring into something that is going to just keep producing for years and years and years. You're just building like a groundwork for goodness in your marriage.
Yeah. I'm going to go one further and even say something that you said to me this morning, which is funny because I'm very bad right now. I'm going to admit it. I'm very bad on my phone. I have cranked up my phone usage. I've even gotten screen time reports that are telling me I'm on my phone too much. And
what
Ash
is it that you do on your phone?
I don't need to talk about this.
We do need to talk about it because everybody wants to know. Because I feel like everybody hounds the ladies for
like what do they
Instagram.
Do? All right. I'll straight confess. I have news. I go to news first.
Dino's a news junkie.
Then I check financials to check and see where certain financial things are going right then and there. So I go through that. And then I do YouTube shorts because I have honed that thing where it's predominantly like scientific information or Jordan Peterson type stuff or politics, or it's actually too good.
It's too much. I swear, when we went on a flight, like when we went with the kids, it was like a 4-hour flight
so badly
to California. And I'm reading my book and I'm like, I was so proud of myself. I'm like sitting on my high horse, reading my like Christian book, like a nice little girl on the plane. And I look over and Dino is just like the YouTube shorts. And I'm like, how can you even consume that stuff? And he's like, it's about the pyramids. Look at like how cool. And I'm like, why do you need to know these things? I showed her the video
and you were like, all right, that is fairly interesting.
There's so much.
The big thing I wanted to challenge on was when you go away, try and find the obstacles that are in your way, the things that are between you and your spouse, the habits that you currently have in your life, and just remove them. So I'm going to shut my phone off. I'll throw it in the safe when we get there, and I'm not going to touch it when we get there. I just want to be off of that thing and be able to give you some reset time, some conversation allow both of us to even be in the quiet, let my mind even be in the quiet. I feel like it's really, really important to be able to stop and allow whatever God wants to say to you to be spoken to you, or else you just will be drowned out with all the noise.
Absolutely.
The noise gets way too much, way too often.
Yeah, you're wasting an opportunity to connect with your spouse or to connect with the Lord on a deeper level. How can you hear from him, or even, think about the things you want to say to me or me to you, if we're not allowing for any space in our mind to be able to receive anything? I've felt that so much just in my social media fast these last few months, just how much, and I even feel like leading up to my time off, I had lessened my time so much. I've set so many boundaries, but still my mind was constantly, even when I'm not on, it's constantly thinking about when I go back on and, what I'm going to do. So my mind is always filled with like a creative idea. And I think, it's just part of the thing. That's part of how God made me. But also, it's just so important to be able to shut that off. And sometimes it's just so hard to shut it off. You have to be really intentional about it.
We did not start this podcast wanting to talk about this, but I feel like we should almost keep talking about it, because the other topic now is I want to ask other questions. I want to unpack more of this.
I love this because we had a topic and that I brought up this morning, and I will definitely do it. But right before we sat right here, and Dino prayed and he said, God, empty us and everything that we have planned and everything that we want to say, and you show us what you want us to say.
And now there's a new topic.
And now we're about 18 minutes in.
What is something you want to get out of this time that we're going to go? Like if we came back and you were like, oh man, it was the best. Look at these big things that I kind of got out of this.
Yeah. Well,
because I have stuff in my mind. I'm curious what yours is.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to just share too. I think that Dino and I have a high bar for this, because the last time we went on this trip was extremely, extremely healing and beneficial for us. We're kind of repeating the same thing because it was after a time that was a little bit difficult. We were going through some difficult things together, and we just needed to be alone and to be able to talk about how we were feeling and be able to process everything together. And so I think we both have in our mind right now that same thing, how valuable it was and how precious it was. We both kind of want that.
So just unpack that. Contrasting rest. That's how I would describe that right there. So the first thing that I feel like is very needed in marriages is a contrasting rest, meaning right now it is constant. Both of us are heads down, going as hard as we can in our own lane, and we need to stop and rest, and we need to rest together. So you and I utilize this time to be able to just pump brakes on whatever's going on in me and my career, pump brakes on anything that's going on with what you may or may not want to do with the future of your stuff, our shops, the inn, the kids, all of it. Just it's a constant attack. It's a constant barrage of dealing with things.
Yeah.
And to stop all of that, almost fast from it.
Yeah.
And allow ourselves to have a moment together, talk, be quiet, and just have a moment of rest. I think that's one big thing.
Yeah. And I think that it's one of the things that I heard a bunch when I was taking my break off of Instagram. People would say, oh, well, good for you that you have the luxury to do that you have the luxury to rest. And I think it's important to remember that it is important for us to rest, that God does equip us and gift us with so many amazing things. And each of us we have our own individual giftings, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't call us also to rest and seek after him, because if we're constantly going and just keeping ourselves busy and striving, we are not allowed. We're basically saying that I am sovereign and I am in control and you are not in control, Lord. But that is not true. God is in control, and we need to allow him to be that in our lives. That means that we need to pull back, and that means we need to say, okay, I have this job and I have these kids and I have this life and all these things. That means that I need to be able to give it over to him and say, I need you. I need to rest. You need me to rest. How can I do that? Ask him how you can do that. Pray about it. And he wants that for you, and he'll show you how to do it. And sometimes it's just releasing it and just saying, you take the reins. Give me your yoke and take my burden, Lord. and he will give that to you. So I don't think it's appropriate to make excuses that you cannot set that time aside to rest. It's important for everybody to do that. And God calls us to do that, and he wants us to do that.
It might look differently for everybody.
Yes.
It might not be 3-4 days away in some, nice place. It might be camping. It might be, but it doesn't matter.
Just might be a night of rest or whatever it is. Like, pray about how you can release the reins and let God take over that part of your life. If you're just craving rest and you just need it, then ask God how you can do that. And sometimes it's just going to be stepping out in faith. That's how it was for me with this time. With all the things that was kind of hanging over our shoulders and hanging on me, how can I do this? This will fail, this will fail, this will fail, this will fail. And God just kept saying, stop striving. You need to rest.
There it is. You just basically nailed exactly what it was I was thinking. We so often need rest because we're trying to do everything on our own.
Yeah.
And we're striving for things. God doesn't want us to have this mentality of, I need to do it. I need to keep going. I'm doing all this stuff. God doesn't want that.
Yeah.
God wants us to feel like, God says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And that yoke is cow yoke, meaning it's a piece of wood that connects two cows. And when we are connected with Christ, then the yoke is easy because we're yoked with him, and he carries our burdens. Yeah. And when we get tired and fatigued, it more often than not means we're rolling solo and we're not yoked up. And when you stop, take a break, rest, and allow us to re-get aligned with God, it means that we can go back. I can be a better dad. I can be a better husband. I can be a better employee. I can do all those things in a much better capacity because I have realigned myself. I've reset my yoke to be rebound with Christ in my walk and all the things that I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else I'm curious what else you're trying to, I mean, obviously some fun, like go
I
goof around.
definitely want to have fun.
Just bond and build some memories together.
I want to, create memories. And then for me, so what I was saying is what we got out of it last time was so valuable. And right now I still do have some pondering questions that I'm kind of going back and forth with. Should I do this? Should I do this? What do you have for me, Lord? And the biggest thing that God has just been showing me these last few months is obviously to stop striving, stop trying to be in control, that I may not know the answer. Should I do this or do that? And all I want is like, just write it on a piece of paper. And then can you sign your name also so I know that it's for sure from you, And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
It's not how this works.
Not how that works. And so what he's been showing me is instead of seeking after all these answers and the things that I think that I need to know, that he's been showing me that to just seek after him and who he is and all of his attributes. And it's funny, when we were going to talk about the topic that we were going to talk about, that was one of the things I was going to bring up also. And it's so just important, I think, for every area of our lives and every single topic, because when you seek after the Lord and who he is, you start to understand him more. We'll never fully understand him, but you start to understand how wonderful he is and how much he loves us, and that I don't need to keep striving and I don't need to have that control. And you find this contentment and this peace too, because you just know who he is, and it's incredible. And so I want to keep just kind of diving into that on the trip, and then also just resting and just waiting for whatever he is going to show me, if it's going to be something. Otherwise, I'm just going to, take a step in faith in a direction, and then ask him to be in it. If he's in it, then I want to keep going. And if he's not in what we're doing, then I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I think to reiterate what I think I heard you just say, and it's funny, I actually heard somebody else recently say this. They were talking about conflict when they were dealing with conflict with their spouse. They're saying most of the time
you're doing like
I'm doing like a little tap with my hands. People who are just listening will not see that. I was just doing Ash is making fun of my hand mannerisms. They were saying one of the things they do when they're running into conflict is they'll go for a walk together because it allows them to side by side not look at each other in the eye and just be able to like resolve things. But if they can't resolve it through a conversation, what they'll do is they just go get a hotel room, get naked, fully stripped down, and will be there lock themselves in the room, order room service, and deal with the problem until it's
I feel like we've done this before. Not on purpose, though.
Yeah, absolutely. We have. You and I have absolutely done that. And I think that what that was kind of getting at is something very similar to what you and I are going to go get at, which is we have a very large decision to make. Or maybe it's not even large decisions, but right now for us, it's what I would say is a larger decision on how we want to handle our lives. We need to stop, go get together, shut everything else off, and figure out a problem. Mm-hmm. So one of the big things that I think that you can do with dedicated time alone with your spouse like this is just either deal with problems that you've been dealing with, or deal with a problem that is to get like against each other. So resolve conflict together, or work together to solve one, or like a problem that you're having, a problem I'm having, or a problem that we're dealing with together to go and try and get alignment on it.
And that's what the beautiful thing about marriage too, is that we're not in this alone. I love that when I have to make a decision coming up, I'm not going to make it alone. I'm having Dino come alongside me. We're doing it together, holding hands. And it's like, pray for me. What wisdom do you have? I want to know what God's telling you to. I trust you, and I want you to help guide in this decision as well. So I think it's so cool that we aren't doing this alone and that we get to do it together.
Yeah. I think you and I talk a lot of times about depth of intimacy.
Yeah.
And that's like it's just words, but that's what you just described as an aspect of a depth of intimacy. It means that I'm going to invite you in, and you're going to invite me in to a deeper aspect of your thought process, your decision making, and desire to resolve something together.
Yeah.
Too often I'll go and try and do things, especially in times past, solo. I just want to be able to try and get in my head, run through all the different scenarios and resolve it myself. But it's so not fulfilling to go do things alone anymore.
Let me ask you this. What if your spouse does not want to do that with you?
I feel like I'm always going to give the same answer to that. There's two things on this. Number one, more often than not, when that question is asked, it is the plank in my eye is bigger than the speck that I see in my spouse. So it's very likely a scenario where I would say, make sure you're really being introspective on yourself to ensure that you are being the one who's not doing that. Or if it's not that, maybe there's something else that is creating a barrier that's limiting your spouse from being able to actually feel vulnerable to come and do that with you. But at the same time, maybe that's not the case. Maybe you are a perfect saint and you are, flawless in all the things that you do. Then just create a welcoming environment for your spouse in consistently. Don't take it personal when they don't, because the goal is not to be harmed by it or something like that. The goal is to eventually get them in. So if they're fighting it and not wanting to be invited in, not wanting to have a conversation about this is something that's hard going on with me, and it's not reciprocated, it's not received well consistently, you have to constantly leave the door open and then beg God to allow you and your husband's hearts to get in alignment.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I say that with confidence is that is how I've consistently gotten resolution. Mm-hmm. And I would assume same for you.
Yeah.
When I'm not in alignment with you on something, you pray and beg God to bring your and my heart into alignment on it. And it is 100% guaranteed that our hearts get into alignment. Yeah. It has always happened.
Maybe not in the exact way that we think it was going to be.
Or in the timing.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, I pray and ask for something and it doesn't get resolved right away. And that's not how it works. I've prayed for something between you and I I had a major struggle with for like 3 years. Just waiting and waiting and waiting. And during that entire time, if I go back and really look at it, it was me that God was working on. He was growing me in a scenario that I was like, I really wish Ash would change in this. But God was using that time to work on me, build up this depth of needing him through that hard scenario. God uses all those harder things, all those hard scenarios which is ironic. That was actually the topic we were going to talk about, which is hardship between you and your spouse. But God uses those harder scenarios when you and I are not in alignment and you are disobedient or vice versa to grow me. That's an aspect of a hardship, and you should cherish those things.
Yeah.
Those are opportunities for you to lean into God to speak to you and to change you and mold you and make you patient, make it so that you have fervent prayer life for your spouse and can grow in that. And there's opportunity in that. Not everything is just magical and just works out. Hey, I want to talk to you about this. Oh, well, I'm now a good communicator and everything's great. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You have to build a skill set with your spouse.
Yeah.
You know?
It takes practice too. Just like, that I feel like they always say it at church, if you want peace, you have to pray for it, but you know what comes when you pray for peace, or no, sorry, not peace, patience. When you want patience,
yeah.
Like we're going to go through things that are going to help us learn how to have patience. The same thing with all of the things that we're going to do in our lives together. If we want to be good communicators and, we want certain things in our marriage, we are given the tools to be able to work through those things together.
Yeah, we totally went on a rabbit trail here.
I love it.
I want to talk about one other thing, the importance of getting alone and getting away with your spouse, and why and what you should kind of be intentional about when you're going and doing that. Is there anything else? I'm actually kind of curious. Is there anything else you want to get out of the next few days when you and I are away?
I think we kind of hit it all. Is there something that you have something on your mind?
The last big one on my side is I want more to be more bonded to you.
Yeah.
I just want to spend time falling more in love with you. I think it's really important to understand that we've been together 18 years and spend an insane amount of time together and intentional time together.
Yeah.
I want more.
Yeah.
I think that there's always going to be more that I can discover with you, figure out with you, change in myself. I want to try and take my walls down during the time when we're there as well, where I'm not going into it with any rigidity around aspects of my daily life, my daily thinking, who I am, and allow God to speak to me to be able to stop and hear you and the things that are going on with you and build some fun memories together. There's so much advantage to getting away with your spouse alone, shutting everything else off, no communication with the outside world, and just allowing that time to be something that can be a major growth opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the big, it's not just like, let's get away and go and recharge our batteries.
Yeah.
Let's get away.
It's going in with an intention to,
yeah.
And we have seen that for sure. We have definitely seen, we thought we were really close 10 years into marriage. But now looking back, it's like, whoa, there is so much more to be had. There is so much depth to be had because of, being intentional, like you just said, with having the desire to want to go deeper, to want to bond more, and to want to get closer, letting the walls down more. Yeah. So I'm totally down for that. And one other thing I was just thinking of too is, with the whole phone thing, I think that it's really important, and I definitely could be better at this. But when your spouse comes to you with something like, hey, when we go on vacation, do you think you could leave, or do you think you're going to be off your phone more? First of all, me not coming in a passive aggressive way, saying that like, are you going to be on your phone the whole time? I never do that. And then also for the other person to receive that, because they know the heart that it's coming from and the desire that it's coming from, and that to have the walls down to say, yes, absolutely. Like, I hear what you're saying, So person one coming with the right heart and the way you're communicating it, and your spouse and the way you need to communicate. Then person two being able to receive that and know what your spouse is actually asking and give it to them.
I think that's almost a whole conversation that we could even talk about, is the importance of ensuring that you're giving something that is able to be received. And when receiving something, even if it's harsh, understanding the root of it. I think more often than not, I will get angry and irritated because of the way that something is given to me.
Yeah.
And instead, I need to be very patient and understand, because if I was being honest in a moment when you're telling me you need to get off your phone, I need to take a beat and be like, wait, she's really saying she needs something from me.
Right. And because we know this, we've had these fights before in the past. And what that whole conversation, which took place in about 20 seconds this morning, usually has turned, in years ago, would have turned into a fight. Because it would have been like...
We never fight the day before we go on vacation.
Oh, you always fight the day before we go on vacation. No, but you know what I'm saying? It turns into a fight because then what the person too wants to say is, oh, are you on your phone all the time too? Do you think that I'm on my phone more than you? Why don't you, check yourself before you check me?
Because you can't ask somebody to do something unless you're perfect yourself, right?
Totally. Oh my gosh. How many times have we had that conversation? And so... High five.
Oh, there you go. You like that? You didn't expect that, did you? That was really good. I got a good pop out of a backhanded high five.
That was good. No, but normally we would have thought about that, and I thought that was good. So person one, coming with just the right heart and not being passive aggressive in the things you're asking, and person two, just receiving what your spouse is asking and knowing, or if you don't know, trying to have an awareness of what they're actually asking and hopefully know that it's something that they're desiring from you, that they want from you, that is to be closer out of love. So
yeah, anytime I come to you and ask something of you, it's because I want something more. I want more out of what it is that we're doing. And more often than not, I'm very incorrect in presenting it.
Yeah.
Vacation, I think it's important. I think it's critically important, so much so that it is mandatory. And I'll be bold in asserting you need to get alone with your spouse. If you're not doing it, you're in the wrong. I'm talking in definitives now, But I feel boldly about it. I think it's extremely critically important. And to those who say, oh yeah, but what about my kids? I think that the kids will be significantly happier if you have a priority on your spouse. Our kids have a huge amount of confidence in who they are, knowing that mom and dad love them, love each other very, very, very much. It gives them stability, knowing security, that you're my number one and I'm your number one, and they're clearly number twos.
Yeah.
And I know that's controversial. I'm going to be firm on that one. I feel like it's extremely important. Get away with your spouse.
Yeah.
Just while you're on that, when you're gone and away with your spouse, remove the barriers of distractions that are outside. Work on areas in yourself to be able to understand that your spouse maybe wanted to say something to you and understand the underlying thing instead of taking it offensively. Stop being on your phone. What else did I miss that we recapped it?
I think you hit it all. And I would just remember the things that we said. There are some little nuggets in what we said for tips, like stop making excuses. Find the things in your life that are you're allowing to be an excuse. And there are things in your life that you can say no to that will allow you to either have the time or the finances to be able to do whatever you choose to do, whether it is which one you're lacking in your marriage or that you need more of. You can come together, pray about it, make a plan, and see how you can have a action through this.
Yep. I'd love to know. I'm sure there's ways of us being able to connect with other people, but if you are a podcast listener of ours and you actually go and invest in this, I want to have somebody email, let us know. I think it's important for us to hear from people how this actually changed your life, because I firmly believe that I have so much confidence if husbands and wives spent more alone time investing in their marriage, investing in each other, trying to hear each other, trying to remove the outside noise of things, and go and do that intentionally in a duration of time, not just an hour or 5 minutes here, but a day or 2 days, a week, whatever it is. Get alone with your spouse. I feel it would change a huge amount of people's marriages.
And we could do another podcast on this too, just like what you will get out of this and what we've seen out of it. Like, think about when you have the time to come together and join together, the unity that you have. So then now you have the unity when you're making decisions, when you're making big life decisions, when you're parenting, when you're making financial decisions, when you're in an argument, whatever it is. Now you have created a bond, a deeper connection, so that and a unity with your spouse, that you can go down this path of whatever it is that seems daunting, and you guys can do it together because you've taken the time to invest in one another.
Yeah. There's one more call to action. I feel like really, really more important thing that we kind of touched on, but I want to be very explicit about it. When you and I go away And I think this is very, very important. So please listen. When you go away, pray with your spouse, read your Bible with your spouse, seek out what God might want to be changing and doing in your marriage and in yourself, in your spouse. That is going to be something that Ash and I spend a good amount of time on.
Don't waste your time on, just like consuming, like we were saying, the news and being on social media. And, there's some like parts of that is like, oh, I just need to zone and recharge, but recharge in the Lord, like recharge
you can zone and recharge while praying together. And see, you and I, when the last time when we went away, one of the most bonding things in any vacation we've ever done was sitting and you read, I remember the exact chapter, it was on the life of Samson. And man, it hit me hard. It hit me hard. And you and I had long conversations about the life of Samson while we were there, and how that there was reflections of his life in me and my life and things that I needed to change and make modifications to. It was very, very impactful. And it was because you and I gave intentional space for the Lord to speak into our marriage and into us as individuals while we were gone.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you on this. If you go down this path and you start to dedicate some time and you do see the fruit coming out of it, we just would love to hear that. And we'd love to come alongside also and pray with you. And pray for you and your marriages. So you can send an email to arrowsandbow and the number 9@gmail.com, or connect through Instagram or whatever, any of those other outlets. So we're excited for you guys to do this. We're excited to go away and have this too. And then this will be really cool because we'll come back and hopefully we'll have just, had some really great conversation and insight into what God wants us to be focusing on for the future.
Yep. Yeah.
We'll see you later.